Hello, sports fans, and welcome back to the NRL SuperCoach BDE podcast. We are the best draft experts, keen to dive into the round 2 team lists. We're down a member tonight. Poor Simo, thanks to the Southeast Queensland disasters, he's not with us, so we send our love to the big man. But we've got none other than the Todd Mount in the house. Hello, sir.
G'day, mates. Yeah, shout out to Simo. Unfortunately, no internet for the big dog, power off and that sort of stuff. So hopefully he's doing okay. But we'll power on through, mate, after a pretty exciting weekend of footy.
We don't mind a good old yarn, you and I, old sub. We'll go all right. We'll keep them honest.
Why not?
Shout out to our live viewers as well. Always great to start off or finish a Tuesday, I should say, with some listeners tuning in. So, Todd Mount, just to get your thoughts on week 1, mate. There was a lot of good footy, a lot of teams that are going to struggle and create, let's just say, SuperCoach gold mines for those better teams.
Yeah, there's a couple of hidings, mate, which, we sort of thought were going to happen. But some teams hit the ground running, and some teams just look terrible. Whatever the Roosters and Parramatta threw up was pretty average. But look, it's just good to have footy back. It's good to see, these SuperCoach guns from, Manly, Melbourne, really putting up big scores.
And thinking about that, mate, just some early crows for some decent value in drafts. Little puppy looks like he could be a bit of something while he stays fit. He looked electric again.
He did look very good. It's good to see Puppy out there in his flowing locks having a go, mate.
Yeah, the Misso, that's her favourite player for those who've been listening for a while. Absolutely loves him in action for reasons other than football, and was delighted to see the Sonic the Hedgehog hair had returned. It just looks right, mate. He looks fast.
It does. Yeah, it makes you look faster. Maybe that's why I've got a bald head.
Yeah, and I've got a flat, wavy top. Just means I'm sort of falling over sideways. Tough times. So that was good, mate. And the other one I'm going to mention for those Munster truthers out there, oh boy, that could be an absolute steal if you got him in round 2.
Yeah, fantastic. He looked really good money, and then Craig Bellamy having a jive at him afterwards, saying he's about time he lost some weight. So that was good. Enjoyed that.
Yeah, it was pretty good, mate. And I think pretty much all of the big 4. I know Harry Grant didn't quite get his. The risk is he is just a bit of a, going to dump it off in those games where they're dominating so much, and that's probably just the way. He might be one of those weird players, mate, in bigger games. He's probably a better chance of getting over for a meaty, as odd as that is.
Yeah, but, probably still put up 61 though. It's not, if
good.
that's as bad as Harry Grant is all year,
right.
round 1, so be it. He's still the fifth best hooker, and Maxi Plath is the top. So, Harry Grant's going to get his. He's still going to be the top guy.
Something else, listeners, I know, gamble responsibly. And also, if you look any gambling agency out there, happy to take your sponsorship. Thank you very much, Melbourne Storm, for some monstrous multi-wins over the weekend. Absolutely brilliant form. Willie Warbrick intercept was a very big moment. So thank you so much for that. That was awesome. Money to be won. But anyway, we're here about fantasy football, mate. So let's dive in. My not-so-mighty Knights who overcame the Tigers. Tigers, a lot of defensive struggles. Knights should have put on probably 20-plus more points than they did, mate. Against the Dolphins here, do you think it's going to be more of the same, or is that just a case of Bradman Best will remember how to pass?
Well, geez, that was a shocking performance by Bradman Best to start off with. That is a Barry Crock if you've ever seen one. But he's a quality guy, and he'll get AOB will put it up him on the week during the week, and he'll be better this week. So this is actually a really interesting matchup. The Dolphins sort of had a bit of a weird week last week with some of their players not going down, that sort of thing. So they'll be more settled this week. Couple of guys out, but look, I think there's going to be a really good matchup, and it seems like this could be a one that's sort of SuperCoach friendly.
I hope so, mate. I really thought that the Tigers versus Knights should have been as well, to be fair. It sort of fizzled a bit for a few, but I'm with you. I'd like to think there's some points here on the Thursday. Geez, I love my Thursday night footy, mate. Just to break up the week well.
Back, eh? It's so good. What's this, 8 o'clock, is it? Or is it 7 o'clock?
This will drop. So for us in Queensland, it is 7 o'clock. So that's
right in the middle of my training time. But I'll be back. I'll start the game when I get home, baby.
Yeah, mate, you can do the KO delay. KO, only $40 a month now as well. Let's not go there. Let's not go there. All right, so a lot of promise here. I think the outside backs, even James Schiller, mate, I thought he was pretty active.
Pretty
I
good.
liked what I saw. I think he'll be on the receiving end of some line break tries somewhere, possibly even in this matchup. He's not someone I'd spend a waiver claim on, but if he's out there and you need a 4 CT dub, I don't think there's much more needs to be said, mate. He's not bad.
Yeah, he's not bad at all. Goes looking for work too, old James Schiller, so it's nice.
The excitement machine that is Fletcher Sharp, mate. I mean, he's
Oh.
at minimum, he's going to give you third CTW value, trending towards higher, and he may even just be enough.
Yeah.
He might be enough playing if you got him as a fullback.
He is everywhere, mate. Really, I was pretty high on Fletcher Sharp all preseason, and look, he's just active and lively, and that's what you want. He busts tackles, I know, tomorrow. He goes across field a little bit, and then he finds a gap and he's through. So, really like what Fletcher Sharp's doing. I think he's pretty good at that 6th role.
Absolutely, mate. Now, just working our way through the side here. I had a feeling I was going to be saying this after week 1, but Leo Thompson to the Bulldogs next year makes me want to cry. I thought he was outstanding.
Yeah,
for the night.
That's a weird one to let him go. Obviously, you now know that Dylan Brown sort of popped into their equations, but to let someone like Leo Thompson go, it's in a forward pack that is, losing probably Jack Hetherington, Adam Elliott this year, which is fair play. But to lose a guy like Leo is a bit interesting. I don't know why you want to leave there.
It is an odd one, mate. I thought Jacob Seif, or Jay Seif as we call him here, was pretty decent as well. Both are going to give you startable FRF value, I believe. Dylan Lucas, just supreme. That run, mate. I mean, he's.
Wow.
I don't want to overdo it and say he's like a rep player, but geez, he's got some moves that make him look pretty special.
He's got a bit about him, doesn't he, old Dylan Lucas, and runs a really good line, really tough too, really tough.
Your superstar basketball great in Paul Pierce. I tell you what, mate. There's some offloads to come this year. I think he's going to be okay. Third to our athlete.
A little bit what we want to see last year. Hey, like get a bit of an offload going, get the license to flick one out, and a little bit different of a game plan this year for Paul Pierce. So how good.
Elliott on the bench, I like, but I thought we lacked a bit of punch. I think he's pretty decent there. Makes Tyson Frizzell very hard to start, so let's not worry about that. Well done on Jack Hetherington maintaining his spot on the red side. Let's.
There's a guy.
Gee whiz. Jaden Brayley off to the Raiders. Apparently, Raiders need 25 hookers, so that's
so weird to me. What a weird thing. Ricky just loves him.
He does. Apparently, the rumor is Starling off to the Bunnies under Bennett, which I tell you what, mate, in 12 months' time, come back to me about how that looks from a Supercoach perspective.
The rumor I heard was Cheese to the Souths.
I heard the Cheese one as well. I would rather from Supercoach, mate. You give me Tommy Starling getting close to 80 minutes at the Bunnies under Bennett. I'm all about that. Anyway, we'll wait and see if that happens. But that big news you said, mate, I know every man and his dog has pretty much come out and said what a ridiculous move from the Knights.
I'm sick of hearing that.
I am too, mate. Just very quickly, don't agree at all. Premier halves unavailable in the comp very often. I've heard people say largely unproven, and geez, he looked bad against the Storm. Did he, though, with having a hand in 3 tries and trying pretty hard against a forward pack that was completely overwhelmed?
Yeah. You look at that game on the weekend and go, he's not worth $1 million. Like, he's definitely worth $1 million.
He is. He is. Now, 10 years is the one thing I wanted to bring up. I don't really know why it had to be 10 years. Make it 7. That takes him to his like age 34/35. He's not a guy that's dependent on pace, Todzer, so I can actually live with that. But is he going to be running like this at 37? I wouldn't think so.
I think he's 25 now, isn't he? So I think his contract will take him to 35.
I thought he was 27. So if it's only 25, then I'm a little less concerned.
I think it takes him until he's 35. I just never don't think, like, how often has that worked? The only person I can think about that has worked for is like DCE.
DCE is probably the standout, yeah.
He is, I just don't think that those kind of long contracts are going to work. But look, Dylan Brown, he's not a forward like Jason Tamalolo. He doesn't put his body through heaps like Jason Tamalolo. Look, 10 years is not ideal if you're a nice fan ruining your cap for the next 10 years, but the cap's going to go up. And if that means that over the next 5 years you keep Kalen Ponga in your side or you go close to winning a premiership, like, so be it.
Well, that's the other thing, mate. Like, if you put Hastings and Brayley's contracts together, you almost arrive somewhere near Dylan Brown. I actually just think it's good. They've got the money to spend more than people realize. And I'm about it. I think we've got a good core here of players. So bring it on, Dylan Brown. There's a potential jersey purchase for me in the not too distant future, old son. I'm going to get right behind it.
All right, mate.
Absolutely. So over to your mighty Finns. Yes, it's one of your teams, mate. Look, Cody Nikorima coming back in, I think, does help some attack here.
Yep.
Very much needed. So aside from that, in this matchup, Knights didn't defend too badly, is one thing I'll just say here. So I'm a little hesitant to give the green light to Averillo and Tupu. You are starting Farnworth and Asako and Hammer, of course.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Yeah, Junior Tupou didn't show it too much last week, and no confidence to go, yeah, I want to start him against Gagai or Marju. So, yeah, I'd be putting the hold on Averillo and Tupou, but yeah, definitely starting up Jermaine Asako back to some form. Herbie, obviously, yeah, definitely startable.
The other one there, mate, we'll just have a look for those who don't have money this week with Melbourne on the bye. Just whether we think Cody Nikorima is a decent bye-week fill-in this matchup.
Geez, I haven't really looked at the rest of the lineups, but I wouldn't think that Cody Nikorima would be a guy I wanted to go to.
Let's work it out, mate. I'm going to keep a list of these and just work out where he sits on the obviously gettable, possibly just in free agency. I hope you're not having to spend a draft pick. A waiver claim on him. All right, mate. So another name that I'm just going to put down, we earmarked him as a potential FRF2. I thought Saifidi of the Daniel variety was decent enough. Solid 50. If you can get away with not spending a claim, then fair enough. But he's going to be okay. He's not.
Yeah, that's what he's going to do. That's what you're expecting from Daniel Saifidi, just to knock out a 50 as an FRF2. Pretty solid.
All right, mate. So bit of turmoil in the back row already with Finafuiaki, who I actually thought looked really good before the HIA. We also don't know what his minutes are actually going to look like, mate, with Lemuelu on the bench. So I'm going to pretty strong hold for me, even in draft. I think I'd be hanging on with Lemuelu's cheek injury, I think it is, or eye socket.
Yeah, I think it's 3 to 4 weeks, something like that.
Yeah, I just thought Finafuiaki looked a likely type. There is a risk, though, that he doesn't get enough minutes when Lemuelu's fit, but hang on to him. Could you throw Oren Keeley in there, mate, as a stopgap?
Apparently a really good player. I just wouldn't want to be trusting someone coming in and playing in this role, especially up against Lucas and Pierce Paul. I'd probably pivot to some other 2RF, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah, we're a bit on. There's some 2RF watch this week. Obviously, we'll get to the Cowboys and the big shocking news of the week as well. I thought Maxi Plas scoring a try wasn't really that was awesome. Still 55 in base, mate. He's just a gun.
Freak, hey, just gets to the work. Him and Tommy Gilbert seem to be feeding off each other, eh? I love that shit.
Tommy Gilbert, he is going to be, as expected, one of the steals of the draft. He is going to absolutely churn him out this year, mate.
He looked great in my team last year when I drafted him. Would have been fantastic.
Let's not go there, old son, but he's going to hit a 60 average pretty easily on this team. Yeah. Just a special mention, the impact off the bench of Josh Kerr on the weekend. Holy dooly.
All right, Josh Kerr. Yeah, he did some work during that Indigenous game. So, yep, good on Josh Kerr.
You got to credit where it's due, mate, for these athletes. On to your actual team, mate, in game 2 of the round. Holy moly. All right, here we go. The 5 p.m. game against the mighty Sea Eagles over in New Zealand.
Yes, that's a positive.
Lay me a story that says that we can start some of these stars against Manly.
I mean, I love the Warriors, mate, and I hope we go out there and flog them. But I'm not starting Tuapiki. I'm not starting Leotawa. I'm not starting Pompey. You're probably going to have to start RTS. I'm definitely not starting, Chanel Harris-Tavita or Luke Metcalf this week. I just don't think you can guarantee them. It's just nothing for me. Then I look at the forward pack. You're going to be starting Fish. Egan's probably going to get his, but wasn't overly great last week. You started Barnett, but Capewell, Niokora, Clark, Dylan Walker, Jackson Ford. I just can't trust starting any of these guys.
Yeah, I mean, if Ford pivots to the starting side, you could get your FRF2 value. Is he still? Apologies, mate.
He's also front row as well. So
that's what he is. He's front row.
Last week.
He's okay, mate. And that late pivot with Barnett dropping back to Lock and Clark to the bench, I think, is still a red hot chance.
Fancy pre-game stuff. We love it.
That'll get him. If they get the win, that's what the coach will say, mate.
Boy, howdy. If we get within 20 here, I reckon we'll be happy.
All right, mate. Especially listeners that are playing in flex leagues this year. Shout out to you. Charles Nickel Clockstar is someone that would be started in most 10-team flex leagues. Can you make an argument that was just a down week?
I would love to make that argument. It's just that I think Chance had that really great season, and I think he got quite. He did a lot, but he got quite lucky with tries. I just think that this is Chance, dude. I just before that, breakout season, this was Chance. This is who he is. He's not creative. He's real effort, and that only goes so far when you're playing at fullback and your team's not going forward. Like we have in that season, SJ have his career best season. Yeah, so I just don't think that. This forward pack is good with Fish and Barnett, but like we are lacking a little bit of forwards, like big bopping forwards, and I think playing on the back foot is which is what I think we're going to do most of the year. It's just not going to be where Chance gets his points.
It's a really good point out, Todd, and it affects SuperCoach, is I kind of miss when the Warriors don't have those big boppers on the pine to just slam through the middle like you've done in the past. Like your Bunty Afoa, your 20, 25 minutes. I personally love that. Run off the back of them and give your halves some space. But let's, Manly's forward pack was awesome. And I thought Takiaho looked good before he went off with a leg injury. Obviously,
it's unfortunate.
Doesn't look as strong with Josh Aloiai in the starting lineup. So it is. I'm with you on the forwards. Hopefully, can hold their own early though. I thought Roger was great, mate, and I think his base is going to be outstanding all year. I would fire up Metcalf in this matchup at home. If you've drafted him, if you've somehow got a better option, good luck to you. But I feel like he's probably your starter. Back him this week, boys. I don't think Manly will be as good defensively or get that momentum away in New Zealand. They may still score 30, but I think Warriors are a chance of getting somewhere near sort of 16 to 24 points. If that's the case, Metcalf will get his, mate. He'll kick a few.
I bloody hope so.
The Manly machine. We're obviously going to have the question here, mate, is you're starting Lehigh and Saab in this matchup.
Oh, yes, you are. And, I've never been a big Saab truther, but boy, howdy, did he put up a monster of a score. And he's getting a bit more involved in the base game too, which is what you want to see. He's raised that a little bit. He did that last year. You mentioned it last year, and I was, not a big Jason Saab fan. But, yeah, look, he's getting the base up too, and he's going to score a heckload of tries here. For the Seagulls team.
Yeah, he's going to be pretty good, mate. And I think that so he's right hand side now, isn't he?
Yeah.
So because he's on the right, mate, with Olakau'atu, Garrick, and DCE scheming, he just almost has to get his as a default, mate. I can't see how he doesn't in this matchup. So he is actually. I can't believe I'm saying this out loud. I think he is a low end claim that most people would have slept on at draft. I think he is.
I agree. I've got him in my claims, sort of a mid, sort of like 6, 7, 8 area. That's where I would be looking at picking him up if I had that. I was needed in the CT dubs. That's for sure.
Lehigh the same, mate. Just all class. That catch in the air and drop off. That kid is 19. Like he is incredible.
Dude. I'd have Lehigh a little bit higher than I would Jason Saab, just because he has that option to go back to fullback if the worst was to happen to Turbo.
I agree. I think Lehigh'd be if he's out there. He shouldn't be out there, but he could be. The other mention, mate, and listeners, it is really hard to figure this out, but Tolo Kula just doesn't get his, right? We've been a fan at times. He actually made a couple of really weird mistakes as well. I tell you what, mate, Tommy Talau looked outstanding last year. He was brilliant. Yes, I know a winning team is rarely changed, but does he come back into this side over Tolo Kula?
I don't think so, man. They love Tolo Kula.
Okay.
I think Tommy Talau is just the unfortunate guy to miss out because of the emergence of Lehigh. I think that's how it's going to be. Okay. Like obviously, if Kohler comes out and makes some crazy defensive mistakes, like there's a world where it happens, obviously. But I think he does enough defensively and is part of this team that he'll be sweet.
Beautiful. Now, a live question here in the chat. Shout out to Dom. We'll give this one a bit of a spotlight, mate, on the screen here. There we go. So, Sipley or Paseka as a second FRF this week. Todzer, I'll give you the first crack, mate.
I'll be going Paseka. I just think he's just a better player. I know Sipley scored really well on the weekend, but I'd be backing him Paseka.
Agree, mate. I think Paseka is someone that has had a couple of rough seasons and showed huge promise a few ago. I think he's a very talented footballer, and we might see the best of him this year. So I've got Paseka as an absolute pretty high-end claim. I think could push towards more. Honestly, like if he finished in the 10 to 15 front rowers range, I wouldn't be that surprised.
Yeah, look, he got a decent score on the weekend. Only played 39 minutes. Like with LIA in here, there's a few on the bench, but you can see him push up to that 40, 45-minute mark, and you're really cheering.
Good shout though. Toff Sipley, I also think, is a
Yeah.
talented player who's been injured a lot. That offload that he got away, he's just going to be really hard to trust, I think. The only reason, Dom, I imagine you're really bringing that up, mate, is with LOA the only man in front of him. Like, how close is he to getting bigger minutes and being more of a starting unit? It's close. I would roster Sipley and not start him this week just to make sure he doesn't get that starting role in the next couple of weeks.
Solid.
Great question, Dom. Love it, mate. Let us know what you think of the feature, listeners. We'll get your question featured on the screen, which we're pretty happy to do. Thank you, Dom. The rest of it, mate. Burbo, look, are we finally just going to put it to rest? He ain't a dynamic football player, mate.
Yeah, he's just a very average Travojevic. He's the worst of the lot, and I mean, played 80 minutes for what? About 12 points. It's just
I was
doesn't work for him.
watching. And, Simon rarely gets much wrong, our expert. Shout out to the man again. This one I think he just might have got wrong. He just isn't a dynamic footballer. But there's really not any value there, is there, mate?
No, not at all. No.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Can we talk about Hamole Olakuatu taking about... I think he took about 4 blokes over the line for that first try. That was unbelievable. Imagine just looking. Imagine being that new halfback Duffy, looking up and just going, I might have to make a one-on-one here with Hamole.
No shot.
I don't know if you've seen it during the week, but on the Matty John show where they had one of their guys take a hit from Hamole.
Yeah,
if you haven't watched it, go and have a watch. It is hilarious. Okay. It is hilarious, and Hamole doesn't care. He just plants this dude. It's so funny.
He is a scary dude. Haircut is absolutely on point too, it's fair to say. He looks mean, mate.
Yeah, he looks really trimmed this year, really big and strong. I like Hamole this year.
DC is going to find him plenty. He is probably going to outstrip the draft position, mate. And I don't think anyone was sleeping on him preseason, but it could be his best year yet. So, gun. Yep. All right. Next match on Friday night is the poor Roosters. Yeah, I'm going to say it. Poor Roosters. They're away at the Penny Panthers. Wow.
Wow. What a week to get the Panthers when they get To'o back.
To'o back with Alamotti in the centres is juicy. I thought Tungo was pretty good week 1, mate. I know he put together a decent score. I think a lot of us were on a bit of a rebound for him this year. You can greenlight him and McLean. That was so unlucky with the HIA.
Yeah, really unlucky.
What the only luck is, I guess, there were 12 days since that game, so he could play this one, and you're green-lighting him easy. You're green-lighting Tango. I'd have Jack Cole, mate, if people dropped him during the gap in the week. Like he hasn't been picked up, in other words. I've said that weird. Jack Cole or Nicarima so far, mate, just looking at those 5/8 options.
I would take Jack Cole just in terms of, I think the team, he's going to do a lot more with the team.
Yep.
I think that's where I would go. I think Nikarima's the more crafty or better, the higher ceiling. But I think Jack Cole is going to really get his, especially this week against the Roosters, who looked atrocious last week.
Absolutely, mate. All right, so just looking down the rest of the side, could you greenlight Liam Martin after his absolute, just ridiculously good performance against the Sharks?
Yeah, I mean, he looks really good. I heard on the offseason he went and did some sprint training. You could tell he looked really great. He did that to the Sharks, so I'd be greenlighting him. You're probably going to get a 55 out of him on a bad day. Might get some upside this week as well. So, yeah, I can get behind Liam Martin as a third 2RF.
I brought that up, mate, because he hasn't always had the best floor. He sometimes gets hooked early and he sometimes isn't involved. But I get the feeling I'm with you, mate. There might be a different version of Liam Martin this year that's raised his base a little. So I think I'm with you, mate. I think in this matchup, he's a red-hot chance of a try too. So good call. Scotty Sorensen versus IPAP. It is as maddening looking as you'd ever expect. You can't start either of them.
Nope. They're just going to eat into each other, unfortunately, until there's an injury to one of them. It's just going to be that case of you don't want to play that roulette, to be perfectly honest.
That's right, mate. Now, with Dane Laurie running on the bench, that's gone very well for Dane Laurie himself, because that early concussion is going to reinforce his need to stay on the pine and cover pretty much every position from 6 down, to be fair. So he's an easy bench guy. You're going to hang on to him, mate, because an injury to any of these backline players and he's in there. So he's really a hold, isn't he?
Yeah, 100% he is. He's a perfect stash on the bench because as soon as an injury here, boom, Dane Laurie's your go-to guy.
Absolutely. Liam Henry making an appearance on the extended. Look, you probably don't need to pick him up just yet, but just be aware, guys. He may come in on the bench for Eisenhuth this week, even.
Yeah, Eisenhuth or Garner, because Pupley can cover the back row. I think could be Garner.
Yeah, that's right. Just interesting. I'm just excited about him. I don't know if this is the season that he is the guy just yet, but it's coming. He's a good player. All right, mate, the Roosters. So there is talk that Billy Smith is loitering in terms of, we know he's on the extended, but he's apparently a red-hot chance. Who would he oust from this starting lineup if it is this week or next?
I mean, Billy Smith would have to have an absolute mozza in reserve grade this week. I thought Marky Mark was fantastic. And Robert Toya, we all talked about it preseason. You've heard the hype. He was everything that he led up to be. So,
100%.
I mean, is there a world where Tupou or Young get moved on? I mean, replaced? Probably not. Tupou, maybe. But I just think that Billy Smith's going to be that unlucky guy. He can't take away Mark Nawaqanitawase. He was like, every time he got his hand in the ball, he made something happen. So
Nawaqanitawase was awesome, mate. I thought he looked powerful, he looked dangerous, and he's just, learned his craft. Surely they got to stick with him. And Robert Toya, number one with a bullet, mate. That's number one claim of the week. If he's going to be out there in a few leagues, I think it's crazy obvious he's the guy you go after. Like,
easy number one for me.
Beast. Absolute beast. And
there's another one, actually. I think it's in 1A, 1B this week, but we'll talk about
1A, 1B. We will get to that, but that's definitely, for me, he's got to be, you spend your claim, even if you've got four good CTWs, his trade value right now, if you pick him up, you can trade one of the other starters or you can look to trade him. He is the goods. Supercoach friendly game. Yeah, the Roosters aren't fantastic, but I tell you what, he'll do just enough. He will.
Yeah, well, they were crap last week and he scored 90. So
that's right.
And then that try, just see you later. I thought, here we go. He's on one here. And yeah, he didn't look like doing that every time he got the hands of the ball.
Now, it's fair to say, mate, we're not big Chad Townsend people.
I'm a big Chad Townsend guy. What are you talking about?
I'd love me a bit of Chatty and his potties and stuff, but in terms of his performance on the football pitch, he is actually genuinely going to hold back from Supercoach output for the team here.
Yeah, I agree. It's also super tough when your team's getting battered like that, but he wasn't, the class that they needed him to be. I thought Sandon Smith was their better half, and it wasn't even close.
Absolutely, mate. Sandon showed just enough to get by in either the halfback or hooker positions. Lindsay Collins looked a bit slow to me. He's probably just going to work into form, but he is that bit older, so you can't really rely on him. No. Naf White didn't get quite as many minutes as you'd hope without Spencer Leniu, mate. That worried me a little bit.
Yeah, it did a little bit. What's Spencer 2 more weeks away next week?
2 more weeks, yeah.
2 more weeks away, yeah. Naf White's an interesting one, especially when you had Siwa Wong starting the lock roles. There's not any lock minutes. Victor Radley's missing from this team this week with that crazy head knock. Yeah, Naf White, I think the Roosters again this year is going to have that forward rotation that none of them are going to be, Supercoach guns.
It seems that way. I mean, I think you could FRF2 for Naf White this week. I would hope you get by. But once you add Spencer to the mix, mate, I don't think it's going to be as promising as we hoped. The other two options here are Celesi Foketi is playing in 13. Any interest as a what? I mean, yeah, Radley may come back the week after, but I can't imagine that's a lock. Pun intended.
No, they've got Butcher to come back to, Radley to come back. Spencer to come back this week for Foketi. Look, apparently he's an absolute beast in New South Wales Cup, but I just can't trust, especially against the Panthers. I can't trust it. Siwa Wong on the edge, Blake Steep came on, played pretty decent minutes last week too. So, look, I can see the PPM is really good for Foketi, and he was last week, but it's just not a play where I want to be, because he's every chance of getting you a 30 and just really sucking.
I don't mind Siwa Wong on the edge. I don't think it's a good matchup. And as I said, Nat Butcher with an undisclosed sort of personal injury, I think I read. So I don't even know what that's about. I just feel as though free agent pick up and play this week is okay if you're desperate in the 2RF. But it's not going to be a long-term option, is it?
No, I don't think so. And not for me. This screams Connor Watson play 80 again, which is great for Connor Watson owners.
Watson's a good start there. Of those forwards, he's the obvious one with the Gus Bus.
Yeah.
It's going to be hard for the Gus Bus to get back to that average
Yeah.
of last year, mate. We said it.
There'll be some buy low on Gus Bus in a couple of weeks' time. Probably even now. He scored a 55 on the weekend. If you think, if someone in your league thinks we're just going to go just as bad as they did last week, go and get the Gus Bus because he's a good player.
He is, mate. He'll still get his. It just might not be as consistently high end as it was last year. All right, mate. Then on to the Saturday game, the Dragons versus the Bunnies. Now, the Dragons are possibly going to play a Supercoach friendly game if you are the Gutho, Val Holmes, Tuipulotu owners. Boy, did their whole game plan was exactly as we thought. Just go through Val, Cook, Gutho.
Yeah, I didn't get to catch much of this game, unfortunately. We ended up in the pub, so that was weird. But didn't get to catch much of this game. So yeah, look, big scores for Tuipulotu, Guff. Like it's great for Supercoach, and it looks like it's going to be super friendly.
It is, mate. But I tell you one thing that is going to hold him back, just like Townsend at the Roosters. Lockie Ilias, very poor, mate. It's really confusing. Flanagan did just enough to be serviceable as a 6. He's okay, but Lockie Ilias, mate, hopefully there's a dramatic turnaround, but again, it's just he's going to hold back some performance here. So, look, Moses Suli with his new chop as well, I'm sure he'll probably get his. It's really the forwards, mate, we need to talk about, though, in terms of potential waivers. So, your boy, Toby Couchman, with his start. Now, his poor brother, poor bugger, comes on, first run, ACL. See you later. Hopefully he recovers well. Toby Couchman cashed in for extra minutes, potentially, in Supercoach performance, mate. Like, I want to hesitate on anointing him an every week starter on FRF, but he was already probably going to get good minutes with this rotation, right?
Yeah, look, played 70. Obviously, that's going to happen every week. But I can see Toby, and I said preseason, I think he's going to be a 50-minute guy. And his PPM is always at a 1. He has been like super consistent with that. Easily lock in, FRF 2. And if he gets that 55 to 60-minute in an injury-affected game, or even he's got the motor to do it. So if he gets that, you've really cashed in there. I love Toby Couchman. I think he's going to be great this year.
All right, mate. Now, maybe it's Emre Gula then who got towards a 50 with probably more minutes. Looking at that rotation with the big bopper, Blake Laurie, still got RFN and young Hamish Stewart. He did pretty well too off the pine. Emre Gula as a very low-end claim / pickup, or just nothing to see?
I don't think so. I don't think Emre Gula is going to play 55 minutes each week, and especially this week. I think that was more the injury affected. Obviously, probably an extra 10 for Couchman, but I think Emre really got an extra 15 here.
Damien Cook, mate, did not rotate through the lock position, which
I heard that.
Concerning. Minutes down. Jacob Little as well. Absolutely ridiculous try. And a lot of people excited to see Jacob Little get his. He looked great. So he's not going anywhere, in other words.
No.
Jeez, mate, without Damien Cook getting those 13 minutes, we might have got that one wrong. Yeah,
I mean, that was the talk all preseason, though. So, don't know what happened there. Little came on, looked electric around the ruck, really good. So, I don't know what to do with Damien Cook. I think he's going to be one of those guys that's just going to annoy you, I think.
I think so, mate. Similar annoyance would be, you called it, mate, your boy, Jaden Sewer, who you've loved for years. Didn't do much. Didn't look great either. I'll throw Lucy Leilua, my boy, in there, who I've always been a fan of. He looked a little dangerous, at least like he was going to do his offloady thing, but he didn't play as many minutes as you'd like.
Okay, yeah, Lucy. How many minutes did he get in?
65 in the end, which is okay, but it's on the low end of what you're comfortable with.
Yeah, for Lucy, you really want him to be playing 80 and get that extra 15 of trying to get an extra offload or an extra line break and that sort of thing. So definitely a hold. You wouldn't be sort of dropping him for anyone. Probably both Sewer and him. I don't think they're going to go great this year just based upon the halves. But definitely a hold and wait and see if he can get back up to that 80 minutes. And because when he's playing, when Lucy's on, he's dangerous. He's unreal.
Absolutely, mate. And just pointing out as well that Christian Tuipulotu, there is a chance that he wasn't picked up in some leagues. Like, I know we were saying you in particular were saying he could do something, mate. How high would he be versus Toya if out there?
I would definitely have Toya higher. Tuipulotu sits around probably waiver sort of a 5 to 7 guy. Toya is definitely the highest of them all. But yeah, that probably 4 to 7 if you really need a CT dub. Like I lost Ty Munro this week. and that sucks. But if you could pick up a guy off the wire like Tui Pelotu, who's going to be on the end of that swing, you'd be pretty happy with that kind of replacement.
Over to the Bunnies, mate. The very impressive Jai Gray, my flex darling. Enjoy that while you've got him before Mr. Mitchell returns. He was just in everything. He's going to be maybe not a 100 guy, but he's going to do all right for you. Isaiah Tass on the wing got at least a meaty. Might be an okay start this week, along with Bailey, Bentley, Hape, or Hape. I'm not sure of the pronunciation back end there.
Too sure. He's a Kiwi. Maybe he's related to Shante on Hape. Is that spelled the same way?
It could be. Absolutely could be. Fletcher Myers, though, mate, a young guy with potential, comes into the centres to replace Jackie White and suspended. He could be an okay plug and play. These young guys with promise, it's always fun to watch them in their first match.
Yeah, I think he might have had a game last year where he tore it up too. So, look, he's a free agent, definitely a free agent pickup if you're really needy. There's probably is better CT dub options around there because you're coming up against, Holmes and Sully who aren't any slugs. I'd probably pivot somewhere else, but if you're in a pinch, Fletcher Myers is. I remember him last year having a decent game at some stage. So,
on to hot boy alert, Jamie Humphrey. The kid has. There's a rig if I've ever seen one at number 7.
Quads for that kid. Holy, he does not skip leg day.
He is a massive dude. Top to bottom, he's an impressive specimen. Also looks pretty bloody accomplished on a rugby league field, mate. Yeah. And I've got to think, his position obviously to lose unless, the Bunnies really struggle. Is it a friendly enough game that he's waiverable if he wasn't drafted?
I've got him up there as the number 2 beside Robert Toya. I think he's that good. Pedigree's crazy good. I think you have to get him this week, and you have to spend up to get him and especially at halfback, any one of these halfbacks go down. Mitchell Mozona, hello Humphreys kind of thing. He looked incredible. He's not going to lose that spot. He only scored a 55, but it was how he looked. He's not going to lose that spot to Dodd anytime soon. Otherwise, it would have happened this week. So, I would be spending my number 1 claim on him if I was the Mitchell Mozona or needed halfback.
Yeah, well, obviously the Hughes owner on bye this week. It could be worth ponying up.
Shout.
Could give you some trade value as well / coverage, so not a bad pickup at all. Mavazoulis played really good minutes, just didn't do anything. I've got the feeling, though, Todd, that one will be okay. Surely he runs a little bit more going forward. I'm not saying I'm pumped about it, but he could just return top 10 value at least some of the season, I believe.
Return more than what my Reed Marnie did, that's for sure.
Oh, that was a rough watch, actually. Obviously, Kepi and Moale, not much there. Kolomatangi, beast. He's just a great player. I would have drafted him this year if it weren't for the round 26 bye. Jai Arrow is one that Simo had talked up as a great FRF2. Credit to the man. I tell you what, he looked a bit fitter and moved a lot better than he has in recent seasons. He was actually very good real life. Yeah,
he was really good real life. And actually, it came out with 62 SuperCoach points too. So really solid. FRF2 for sure, even third 2RF if you need to. He's going to get his. He's locked in on that edge roll. Fantastic pro Jairo.
I think he's one that there's a chance people slept on as well. So he is absolutely waiverable, especially as an FRF2. I'm happy enough with that. He'd be the premier FRF out there if he hasn't been drafted, I believe. Probably just over Paseka, right? It's close.
I'd prefer Arrow over Paseka just based on Arrow's on the field for 80 minutes. It's pretty close.
Yep. Lockie Hubner and Tallis Duncan. So they ended up actually splitting the minutes up pretty well as part of a rotation. I still think they're both very hard to trust, Toddy.
Yeah, I can't get behind either of them with this kind of rotation, unfortunately. Hubner looked the goods, and so does Tallis Duncan. They both look fantastic when they're on. They're both young, just going forward. They good footwork around the ruck. They're really good, but they're just going to take each other's minutes, and it's unfortunate because we've been high on Tallis Duncan for the last 2 years, and Lockie Hubner, obviously, Wayne loves him. So, I think they're just going to eat into each other's minutes and SuperCoach points, unfortunately.
Yeah, I'd love to get behind either as a third 2RF, but I'm just not there. I still can understand the need for listeners to stash them because there is, one injury, touch wood, to anyone else there in the back row, and they're automatically a starter in real life and SuperCoach.
Yeah, 100%. I also enjoyed. I think it was maybe it was one of the reels I saw. Was they're calling it Lockie Hubner, Porn Hubner, which I really enjoyed. So
I think that's a ripper.
I
Absolutely
enjoyed.
love it.
I think it's Bloke or maybe the Guru. One of them. I saw it in a reel. Fantastic. I enjoyed it.
Power to him. Good player. Good work rate. All right.
Yeah, good sight.
Over to the Cowboys versus the Sharks. Mate, I've got the Cowboys as a lot better for the run this week. I do not think they'll be as hopeless as they looked.
Man, you messaged one of our group chats in the weekend saying the Cows were on, and I said, I don't want to bet any of these Cows because for me, when the Cows are off, they're really off. But I look across this team and I see one absolute stud in Ruben Cotter and Scott Drinkwater, and the rest of the guys, like Tommy Dearden's also really good too, but the rest of the guys, like if they're not on, they're just terrible, and they don't have enough experience here for those young guys to really leech onto. And that's the reason why Jeremiah Nanai has been dropped this week, is simply because he's an experienced guy. He's he's an origin style back rower, but when he's just not consistent enough, and when they need that experience and they need those guys to stand up, they just can't do it.
Okay. Yep, fair enough, mate. You could be right, mate. When I look closely at the side, like, have they really, outside of Ruben Cotter, who's playing at lock, do they really have any great forward punch? It's a bit of plotter, isn't it? Like, Johnny Bateman scored all right for Supercoach. I didn't think he looked particularly good, personally.
Not my type of guy, Like, I don't think he's going to have that huge upside that he did in the year where he was unbelievable. So I don't see it here. I think he's a different player. He's going to England, come back a completely different player.
The alarm bells are there. I'll give you this, Todd. The Drinkwater owner was delighted with some garbage points last week, and I tell you, he's very good at those. He'll always look for tries to create stuff late in games, no matter what. So he's good at that. But maybe Drinkwater is at risk of not living up to that sort of mid to back end round one potential. Huge risk here. Huge concerns with Duffy. I had some high hopes, but at home, this is a big week, mate. This is huge. If they can be more competitive, then I think this Supercoach team, like a team for Supercoach, will be okay. If they get ripped again, mate, Duffy's position becomes trouble. Clifford to come back. Are they going to be any better with Clifford at 7? I wouldn't think so.
Don't think so. Maybe a better kicking game, but that's about it. Like, I just look at this forward pack and I go, Sam McIntyre's got a big tank, but he's meat and potatoes. Jordan McLean, Super League. They bring in Kai O'Donnell. Haven't seen too much of him, but I look at the bench. Griffin Needs a likely type, but just super meat and potatoes. Cohen Hess, like meat and potatoes. Like, it's just, there's nothing that screams punch through lines here. Like, it just doesn't scream it at all. And for Duffy to go any good, like, you need that forward pack to be rolling. And you come up against a Sharks team whose forward pack is going to smash them.
It is true, mate. You're just hoping the home field advantage. Maybe I'm overreading. So I'm not going to disagree with you, mate. You nailed the week 1 prediction. The only player there I want to mention is Valia, who actually scored a right Supercoach. And boy, he looks fit and big. He's huge.
Does look a lot fitter than when he was. Yeah. He was a Warriors guy, right? I'm pretty sure.
I think so. Early doors, yeah, he was.
Yeah, chubby Warriors winger. We didn't need any more of those at the time. Yeah, looked good, but again, like this backline, I just don't see where their points come from. I know he scored well on the weekend, but I just don't see them, and especially this week, I just can't. I can't recommend to listeners for Violators. He might be a stash on the pine, and wait and see if this team can kick on. But I wouldn't be starting any one of those back line, to be honest. But that's not named Scott Drinkwater. Yeah,
it's a real shame, mate. To Talangi, who I still think is a really good player, he just might not get the options.
He made some terrible defensive reads on the weekend.
He did. At a punch, I think you could start him, mate. Over to the Sharkies. It's obviously a green light to the back line, inclusive of Stone Street. William Kennedy, even though he probably should get his in that, he's almost impossible to start. So as a bye-week replacement for Pappen, I mean, if you're desperate, he probably is a name that you'll look at here.
Picked up a 50-odd, I think, versus Panthers. I mean, wasn't the worst, but it's not great, is it?
Fire it up, mate, if you want. And if he goes out and scores 100, I would be, and you think you can get value, you sell. You absolutely sell. Braden Trindle, mate, has to be discussed. Now, there are leagues out there where people would have thought that Hines was going to maintain the goal kicking. Now that Trindle has the goal kicking, his floor is actually pretty damn impressive. And I think there's enough for him this year, attack-wise, that I know that there is likely most of our expert leagues out there, you listeners, you know what you're doing. But if Braden Trindle is out there, he should 100% be owned, and there should be a waiver claim of a pretty high level here, Todd, surely.
Totally agree, especially with the dual 5'8" and halfback. It just makes them like just even more juicy. I think we talked about him preseason in that Luai range where we're sort of, it's that end of the top 10 kind of guy. Like Braden Trindle has his hands on the ball a lot that first week and gets the goal kicking too. This Sharks team's going to score. I also thought that it made Nico Hines look better in real life, having Trindle really run that team and Hines playing that second receiver type role. So I think Trindle's going to be fantastic. He also hit that short ball to Nikora. That was fantastic. He's going to get his, and he's going to be a serviceable 5'8" and halfback this year. I think he definitely needs to be on a roster.
100%. Shout out to Blake Braley, who looked pretty damn good himself, to be fair. Real life super coach. I'm a huge fan. That's really it for the Sharks, mate. They're touch wood, they look like that side that's going to be really settled again, and you're going to have some bankable stars. It's going to be exciting to own Rami and Hero this year, mate.
Oh, yeah, they're going to be fantastic. And the edges like Teague Wilton didn't go crazy good in the first week. He'll get his, I really think that this could be a real breakout year for Teague where he gets towards that 60 to 62 average kind of thing.
Is there a podcast out there that is unanimously bigger fans of Teague Wilton than we are? Seriously.
Can't be. I've had him on roster the last 4 years.
I think he's great.
He's fantastic. But that's just that. Right. I think that's more of a credit to Nikora. Like he just runs that crazy good line.
Absolute stud.
Yeah, that's why they go that way.
He's locked in for at least until he starts slowing down in his career in several years' time. He's a locked in top 10 for a long time. Nikora. Raiders v Broncos. If ever there is a letdown game, a banana skin, if you will, Canberra on Saturday evening. If I was Bronco, obviously you're going to start your Broncos, mate, but we're going to go through straight to their back line. Everyone's anointed Jesse Arthurs, Shibasaki as the absolute saviors of most classic sides. Good luck to you. I wouldn't start either of them if you paid me all the marbles, mate. Thoughts?
Yeah, not this week, mate. Not for you. I'm just checking the weather in Canberra on Saturday night.
Good from you. Good from you.
Chance of rain, 5%, nothing there. 15 to 20 kilometre winds in the afternoon. Light dumping in the evening. Oh, mate, this could scream Supercoach points. But, yeah, it's going to be interesting. You're not firing up Shibasaki?
I'm still not a huge fan watching live. I thought he looked like he was moving in molasses. And Shibasaki, I'm going to love you in classic, mate. Don't get me wrong. I still don't see it. And I'm still seeing the commentary that apparently he was going to oust the explosive Dean Mariner. My brain can't comprehend this, to be honest with you. But
better start comprehending it, mate. He's locked in there. You go that. I just think that this is what Madge has done. He's gone, if you don't want to show up and put in the work, you ain't in my team. And, Corey Pakes showed up and done the work. Obviously, Blake Moser was supposed to be there. Kobe Hetherington showed up, done the work. Jack Gold showed up and done the work. And Madge put some faith in them, and they looked incredible.
All right, I'm just going to run through them then, mate. We'll have a bit of fun here. So I just want you to give me the green light, amber, or red light. Green meaning you pick them up, start them. That's a bona fide starter rest of season. Amber is they should be owned, and red is Mirage. Don't pick them up, leave them. All right, you ready?
All right, let's go. Play a bit of green light and red light.
Your boy Shibasaki, mate.
I will be amber on this one. I think it needs to be rostered, but I'm like you. I think last week he was very good, but last week, and especially coming up against the Raiders who got a bit of chip on the shoulder, not for me.
All right. Jesse, newly appointed hot boy. Great haircut.
He's a hot boy, isn't he? He's a hot lad. That's a red light for me this week. I just don't see it happening the same way.
Really? Wow. Okay. Yeah. I would think just because it could be being on the left there, just the beneficiary of the Reece Walsh experience, I think he's a very good 4th, 5th CTW rotation. But this matchup,
the base is just too low, And then the matchup,
it is.
The base. I looked at the base before; he was like 21, and I get it, it's okay, but the eye test for me was Jesse Arthurs wasn't hungry around the ball. It was,
Corey Pakes.
Ooh, there's a good in. Corey Pakes. Oh, nah, it's not a start for me.
Red.
Yeah, it's not a start. It's definitely a red. I feel like last week was a bit of an outliner. I think Billy Waltz will play a few more minutes this week. It's not for me.
Jack Kaseski.
red. I cannot get behind Jack Rosecki. Not even as a third tour ref. That's not for me. No. But he scored 60 odd with a try.
He got 80 minutes.
Did get 80 minutes? Well, that's because Piakora got about 2 seconds.
That was a satisfying moment for me. Copped a bath on the dribblers page last year for that. Apparently, everyone defended him as some superstar and just haven't been on him. Don't understand the hype.
Yep, we've talked about it before. I'm not a big fan.
Kobe Hetherington didn't get that many minutes, only 45, 46 minutes.
Did a lot with them, though. Tackles his house down. Base will be there. Third to RF only, so that's for me. Amber.
It's close. Amber just, I get it, because if the minutes were to go up, he should get just enough base. I don't think the upside will be there as a third tour if you're that excited about. And it could just be aware you could start him and he gets 35 tackles and nothing else.
Yeah, true.
Jordan Ricky. Okay, don't answer that. Don't answer it. Move on. He scored well, but he does this every year, and you go, this is the year of Jordan Ricky, and then he struggles. Yeah. He probably should be owned based on an 80-minute edge performance where he actually looks pretty damn good. Jeez, he's hard to trust, though.
Yeah, it's not great.
Quickly through the Raiders, Tamale should be owned, but obviously with Xavier Savage suspended 2 weeks, we don't know whether it's Hopper or him coming in. Just keep in mind, Hopper did, in the trials, did play as a centre.
Yeah, interesting. I do think the Hopper has that spot, though.
Probably should be owned, though, right, Tamale?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I think he will be owned, especially with the classic hype. I think Albert Hopewadi should be owned, too.
Yep, I think so, too. Now, Ethan Strange, mate, put together an 89 and actually looked pretty damn good. I did mention him as a late dart throw in drafts to listeners, and hopefully some got on. I think he's a really good one if you've got the Munster situation this week.
Yeah, if you got the Munster situation, definitely look at Ethan Strange. He's probably the best of the bad bunch. I'd have him ahead of Nikarima. And who was the other one?
Cole.
Oh, Jack Cole, yeah. Definitely.
Cole's close-ish, given the matchup.
Way better, though, yeah.
It is. It's pretty close, mate. I think either of those two are pretty decent over Nikarima myself.
Yeah, I can see Jack Cole pumping out a 40 and Ethan Strange maybe getting a few more, line breaks and that sort of thing. So if you need the upside, I'd be going towards Strange, but need a bit of meat and potatoes, probably Jack Cole.
All right. Now, I got to tell you, mate, no Tarpany is the one reason that you could still get on these Bronx. So that'll be interesting. They lose a lot of starch in the middle. Horsburgh, outstanding. Jeez, we already talked about it. He just looks so good. Tommy Starling played the majority, so 65 minutes, I think. He's a green light for me at the moment, Todd, and probably someone, I think you can pick him up and start him. The Harry Grant owner, for example. Tommy Starling is a low claim that could be a really good bench option through the origin period as well.
Yeah, I agree. I would even be going a mid-tier claim for Tommy Starling. Hook is really rough this year.
It is.
I started Reed Marnie. I've got Connor Watson, but I started Reed Marnie. That was average. Wade Egan, those types. Starling's probably got a little bit more upside around the ruck. He can, break tackles, and he's really crafty around that way. So when he's on, he has a really SuperCoach friendly game. He's not just a stand and deliver kind of guy. But Owen Paddy looked really good coming on too, and Ricky seems to love him. So Ricky loves a hooker, to be fair.
He does, mate. He's all about it. Morgan Smithies.
He likes dummy halves too.
Yeah, hello. All right, we've just copped a strike for that. Thanks, Todd. Moving right along, old son. Morgan Smithies. Look, he did his meat and potato-y thing up to 50-odd and gets the 13 with Tarpany out. He's probably fine as a third tour F with a range of between, 42 and 55. Yeah,
did he look trimmer this year than what he did when he first came over?
He moved a little bit better. I thought there was something there maybe. He's like a good amber light if we're going to use that.
I just think that if you're getting on the Smithies train, you're probably looking down on the Horsburgh train. I think there's a chance where he takes a few horses' minutes, and I don't like that. So,
Not this week without Tarpany, though, mate.
Not this week without Tarpany, no, definitely.
Corey Osborne may be close to FRF1 this week behind your boy May with the minutes he's going to get, mate.
Guess who had both in my team, baby?
Yeah, baby. You're looking very good in the front row. Well, I'll let you just roll straight into that for the Sunday 4:05 game. You can have the floor, Todd. I said I was going to do this, mate. Terrell May, just let us go on. You're the biggest fan.
I mean, seriously, he played 65. He looked like he was going to go 80. I actually thought that when they took him off, they lost so much in the forwards. It was really weird. He was like the glue that just kept, he took them on their back, and he was unreal. Like, I think there's a world where he gets an extra 5 to 10 minutes, and he is easily the best front row forward, I think.
Tell you what, mate, all of a sudden, the pointy end of the front row rankings is looking very juicy with Tino back in the mix. Payne Haas looking just all world.
Payne looked crazy good.
Ridiculous. Paddy Carrigan, all world. Yeah. Like, there's some... Maybe the balance of power has shifted ever so slightly, Todd, for some reason. I just don't want to go too early, but let's just pay close attention to those top FRF scorers this year. Obviously, Adam Fanil-Blake as well, who's a try-scoring machine. Yeah. Hasn't switched away from 2RFs completely, in part, I meant to say. Maybe.
Yeah, I mean, it feels like it's going that way. Guys like Terrell May, that's that sort of not big bopper. See, Adam Fanil-Blake's sort of the outliner there. If you look at it, like Tino, Payne, Terrell, they're all like that skinnier type front rower, lateral movers, can play big minutes, whereas AFB's that big bopper, closer line, tackle busting. Joseph Tuppy's a bit of a hybrid. So, yeah, it's really interesting to see if it has gone away from the 2RFs and the more, the guys, the front rowers who can play that 60 minutes are getting really up there. And Terrell May is just unbelievable.
Amazing player. Now, this is going to be the litmus test for the Tigers. I expect them to get the chocolates here quite easily, Todd. Yeah. I think that round one was a little bit of a mirage without Jareem Bula and Appy. I think Appy adds heaps of direction here. 100%. I expect Tigers to rack up a bit of a score. And I tell you what, the beneficiaries of that, I would be green lighting Taruva, Dewey, easily Skelton, who looked incredible. Jesus, the super coach. Stafford Toa, probably not, but also I wouldn't begrudge you if you felt it because, I really think the Tigers here, this could look pretty darn good. They could make me look foolish, mate, but I just think with Bula back there, that's going to add class as well.
Yeah, I agree with you, mate. Stafford Toa, I would be as a 4CT dub, given we run this week, see how he goes. For the listeners, if you haven't watched, check out the YouTube channel for the West Tigers. They do an army camp. And they sort of, they document it. And Jareem Bula, at one of the points there, I think it's on the last day, there's like a task where they can either do X amount of burpees or one player can do this one activity where you carry a pole, a PVC pipe and water in it around this track. And he puts his hand up to do it. He doesn't make it. They do the burpees anyway. But the effort he put in for the boys was unbelievable to watch. Do yourself a favor. I love that shit. It was unreal. And all the boys are behind him. And he's a young kid, man. And really, really good little sort of docuseries that the Tigers did.
Look at you, mate. Just go above and beyond for the listeners to do your research on these resources. Love your work.
Do what I can, mate.
The job bound, everyone. The job bound.
Thank you.
Shame about the Chelsea kit. But anyway, we'll forgive that for now.
Oh, baby.
So green light there, mate. I thought Galvin looked great. I think Luai, who was fairly quiet in sort of a team that should have been well beaten, he did just enough Supercoach. I think both of them are going to be fine. Yeah. Fanua Pole let us down a bit. Low minutes. Output wasn't great, but looked good again. He's one of those type players for me.
Yeah, came on energy is his runs were meaningful. Looked really good for the eye. It wasn't Supercoach friendly. He didn't get a huge minutes, but I do think he'll build into the season and follow Terrell May's footsteps and have a pretty good season. I think, especially as a second FRF, I think he's really good in that spot.
I'm gonna say it. It has to be done. Dwal! Mighty Dwal did enough meat and potatoing to actually get a decent Supercoach score. Is he second FRF material?
Oh, Jeepers. How many minutes did he actually get? 50 minutes? And 50 minutes with Twal in the middle there. I think Terrell May looked like he was playing a bit of locking, and Twal was just doing, meat and potatoes. He made 30-odd tackles. I don't mind it as a second FRF. I just think that one of those weeks he's going to really suck, and it's going to hurt you.
37.
Yeah, that feels 37. Like a Twally type score.
But if he crosses for a meaty, I promise the listeners I'll drop another very excited Twal bit of commentary in the chat. It's going to be good times. But All right, mate. That's really it in terms of value. You keep starting Samuel Afinu. He is going to get his this year. I'm quite confident of it. Special mention to Royce Hunt, who went and did Royce Hunt things. So well done, Royce.
I actually don't mind them for this team, mate.
It's not bad. It's good impact from the Pine. It's just not super coach friendly.
No.
Couldn't get him out of my classic side fast enough this week.
No. Jack Bird came on and did interesting stuff. Like, I know you're not a big Jack Bird fan, but I thought what he did around the ruck, he did enough real life, nothing super coach wise.
Yeah, barked around a lot and tried to get himself penalised. Yeah,
that's what I like.
The Eels obviously look terrible. Their forward pack, as advertised, is as bad as there is in the league. I think it's pretty much hands down the worst forward pack. Obviously, Hopgod is excluded from that. He tried his best and got his. He'll get some second phase ball going. Junior Barlow will probably get a bit more second phase too because they got no other way to score, really, mate. They're going to have to do it.
They were bad.
They were bad, mate. They got overrun. It's really hard to judge then over week one about how that forward rotation looks. Joe Ofa, terrible. Didn't get any minutes. You could drop him. But he could all of a sudden get 45, 50 again. Who knows, right? Because they got overrun. Junior Barlow obviously barely got his hands on the ball. Jack Williams, though, and Sean Lane need to be discussed here, Todd, because our preseason darling Kelma Tuolangi, you cannot defend worse than that.
Yeah, hooked. Like, I was watching the UFC and you messaged Kalma gone, and I had the UFC and double screen going, and I look over and Kalma's been gone. I said to you, what happened? I didn't have the sound on, and just defensive. So, I mean, he's being sent right back to Rezzies, unfortunately.
Oh, mate, and look, good on. That's good coaching from Riles. Like, he couldn't allow for that standard. I think it's weird. It's a real shame, but I guess I'll ask you, Todd. Kelma, it feels droppable, mate. Like, I know you probably invested probably even close to a mid-ish draft pick. It's going to be hard.
Yeah. Man, I would just – if I'm the Kelma owner, I don't see anyone on the waiver wire I want. Just hold off on 1 week. I know he was really bad, but Sean Lane was on the outers as well. This bench is super young. You got the Sam, how do you say his name? Tuivati. You got Kautonga, who's actually a pretty good player. Apparently, he would be a stash for me. And coming into that lane, or Jack Williams up to the front row rotation with him on the edge. So that would be a stash for me. But I just feel like Callum will go back to Rezzies and he could be back in the next couple of weeks. We saw last year that he had plenty in him, Supercoach wise. I would just be holding off a week or two just to see what happens in Rezzies.
Probably a decent bit of caution. I will actually just give a bit of different advice there. If you can get anyone, irrespective if you need a halfback or you need one of those other CT dubs, if you can get one of those more elite potential round one waiver options, I think he's droppable. I really do.
Yeah. Look, I'm not going to say I'm holding on to Kalma over Robert Toya or Jamie Humphries. I'll tell you that right now. But I just think it could be one where he comes back.
Fair play. Now, Nane, I didn't actually mention that. Ask you that. Sorry, Todd. Is he someone you hang on to? I'm not a massive fan of Nane. You do.
I think
Supercoach floor is just, it's awful.
Yeah, his form is so weird. It come around to Origin time and he'll be back in red hot form. It really annoys me, especially when he has to be a leader in that team. And Cows, I told you preseason, mate, not about him.
I'm with you, mate. I thought Penasini actually looked like he'd returned to a decent bit of form. He's at least a 4 CT dub on the perma. I think he was decent. Yongi needed that late try, but looked like he's in everything. He'll actually Yongi will be fine. I do not like Zach Lomax playing center as we expected. It is not going to be. It's very hard for him to have out those 100-point performances from center, mate. Very hard.
Yeah, that's probably fair. I mean, I'm an owner and I took him pretty high, but look, I thought he was going to goal kick and Mitchell Moe was going to play and they would look a little bit better. They came up against the Storm week 1.
That's right. True.
Obviously, a buy low there for Zach Lomax if you in a league where someone might be going, fucking Lomax has really done me a dirty. So definitely a buy low there if you wanted to go and sort of pursue that.
Ronald Volkman is not here. Don't need to say anymore. What is on fourth tackle just chipping it to Pappy?
I'll tell you what, I promise you I've got a better nudge than that. And I think honestly, I watched.
Yeah.
That's unbelievable.
He did it 3 times in a row. And I'm looking around, it's like, who's he kicking to?
He had some coin on anytime try scorer Pappy for a 90-plus minute. That's what he had.
Evidently did. Match fixing. Obviously, we're not accusing him, but wow, yeah, some questions raised. And then on to a matchup, Todd, the last of the round, mate, that I'm actually pretty genuinely hyped about here is this Bulldogs, who looked really good, outstanding, to be honest, against the Titans, who I think will be better this year and just SuperCoach friendly. I want to start with the Titans, mate. Like, I am so hyped to watch Keeney. You got the speed of Pereira. You've got two very good centres and obviously the power of Fafita. The Brimo and Campbell looks amazing. And with the addition of RCG and Tino back in here, mate, like, I'd call me crazy. This is a chance of a at least bottom of the 8 side with a hell of a lot of SuperCoach upside each week, mate.
Yeah, SuperCoach-wise, I really love the Titans. They're going to put on some scores. They're going to let in some scores. They're going to be chasing a lot, I think. I just don't love AJ Brimson and Jaden Campbell as a pairing. We've talked about it preseason.
Yep.
Don't love it. I just think that when it goes bad, it's going to go really bad. Love Jaden Campbell, off Foz. Foz just, putting guys where he needs to be, and Campbell playing their eyes off footy. I don't think Jaden Campbell's a 7. So that's going to be interesting. But look, they're going to have some SuperCoach points in them, and this will be a bit of a shootout. Like, apparently the Dogs are really good. Didn't get to see the game, obviously, but there's a lot of hype around the Titans preseason, and I think this is the team that they put up. We thought it was going to happen anyway, and it should be fun to watch this one late on the Sunday Arvo.
I'm excited, mate, just to see if the Dogs can back it up because, as I said, they look very powerful and impressive as well. I think there's still plenty of points coming for Matty Burton, obviously, as well. Critter, you just can't start him, mate. It isn't. He's not needed SuperCoach-wise real life to be SuperCoach relevant. Yeah, he can go out and score 75 in any given week, but he's just not for me, mate. Blake Wilson, for those who got on as a 4 CT dub option, at least got his line break try. Connor Tracy just keeps on keeping on. I think he holds them back from being an elite side, personally. But for SuperCoach, he does enough.
Yeah, especially the CT dub.
Viliami Kikau, after the slow start last year, he's someone I wanted to bring up with you, Todd. Mm-hmm. He may have been criminally underrated based on that start last year, because if you look at his average after about, I think it was 6 or 7 games through last year, he poured it on, mate. He was in everything. His kick chase pressure, his time on the ball. There's a shot that he's actually a second 2RF that we just let sleep on draft day.
Yeah, possibly. Like, he's always had the talent. It was just more the fact of whether he got the full 80, what kind of split he's going to have, because he typically doesn't go the full 80. But look, another year with Burton and Sexton there, like, they could really unlock Viliami Kikau and see that form we saw, devastating form when he was at the Panthers. So I don't mind the shout, mate. Like, he's going to be pretty much a second or third 2RF, I think.
He could be a sneaky buy low, mate, just because I think people are probably not that excited about him as well. That's why I bring him up. Could be a really gettable option as well, and I think you're going to enjoy owning this year.
Also averages about 63 versus the Dogs, apparently, according to SuperCoach. So against the Titans, sorry.
Against the Titans. Not bad, mate. Not bad at all. And it will be on, so I'm just thinking, big Villy left. He'll be on the Cleese Haas side as well.
Yeah, don't mind that at all.
Don't mind that matchup at all. We'll talk about the Fifi Darling being on the pine, as we've seen to start many a season, unfortunately, for the Fifi Truthers. Jacob Preston looked fantastic. Any value in Saluka Fafita, who has been touted as a young gun? Probably not. Too many middles, right?
Big bopper, too many middles. Curran's back this week too, so yeah, definitely not.
All right. Stilly Tupanua, have our children. He looked outstanding. Powerful running. Yeah. Scored a couple of tries. Did exactly what Phil Gould was excited about picking him up.
Come on and play through the middle.
The Roosters. He came and played through the middle, which means I think FRF he'll get that dual eligibility by round 6, I believe it is.
So if he's out there, very high waiver, sort of a 3 to 5.
It's a hard one. It's a hard one, Tods, because it was reliant on some big attacking stats. Minutes were in the 40 range. I'm going to say, he is, because we know every single season, mate, there's a guy that we look that starts on a bench and just keeps getting his and gets more and more minutes. It's really hard to anoint him as a high-end waiver based on that rotation, but every year you just get surprised. You really do. Okay. So I'm going to say yes. I'm going to say lower-end claim, and he should be owned minimum.
Yeah, fair enough.
All right. That's it for the matchups, Todd. So just a quick. I've got actually some questions in the chat. We'll go to next, mate.
Yep.
Some really good questions here. So Captain Rivalry, hello, mate. Welcome to the potty. Also, shout out again to our live listeners. We've hit above the double dig, which is a good start to our potty, mate. Love it. You gotta love it. All right. Captain Rivalry says, Tor named on left wing. Does this impact his value at all? Does Alamotti pass, or is he another glue hands a la Tango?
Interesting. I think Alamotti passes a bit more than what Tungo probably does.
I've got this as a boost for Tor's value, mate. I think this is much better.
So left.
I think he gets more line break tries.
Yeah,
playing on the
probably.
left.
Yeah, especially outside. I think outside Alamotti, he definitely gets more. Tungo loves to put the head down and have a go.
He does. I think this is better. It'd be like poor Sean Russell outside Will Penasini on the weekend. Holy moly.
Yeah.
Forgot he existed the
No
entire
anytime
match.
try score on Sean Russell, that's for sure. Holy.
Exactly. I was one of my
Okay.
All right. So that's the answer, mate. I think that's going to be great. Ricky, Leilua, or Liero as third to RF. Pretty, I would say easy. I'm still going to put Lucy first, Ricky second, and Liero. I'm not big on the meat and potatoes of Liero as a 2RF personally, Todd.
Yeah, it's a bit yuck, isn't it? I'd probably go Ricky, Leilua, Loiero. I think that Ricky's going to be a little bit better than what Lucy's floor is going to be.
Probably. I think there's a floor argument there for Ricky, but just be careful, mate. He'll throw in a 35 just when you think he's going to.
I mean, all those guys have a screamer 35, right? Like
they do. Oh, Leo's probably a little bit higher.
He's a 42 kind of guy. Yeah.
He is almost zero upside, the fella. So, yeah. So, look, Lucy and Ricky, that's close. I love Lucy, by the way, Captain Rivalry, so it's hard for me to give you advice otherwise. But great questions. Thank you to Dom and Captain Rivalry for tuning in. If there's any other questions, throw them in the chat while we do a bit of a wrap-up here. Todza, you did a marvelous wrap-up of the Listener League, sir. So can you just give us just a quick recap, mate, of how that looked?
Mate, I'll just go to a couple of Facebook questions first just before we do that.
My apologies, mate.
Yeah, I'll just do that first, get those out the way, and then we'll definitely talk about the Listener League.
Seamless agenda here from us. Keep going, mate.
First one, mate, we got from Ryan. He says, is Humphries worth the punt? And who does Billy Smith come in for when fit? Is it Toya? I think we sort of touched on that earlier. For me, I don't think Billy Smith comes back in unless he injury or goes absolutely bonkers in resis.
Yep, I'm not going to disagree.
Humphries is definitely, for me, worth the punt. I mean, anyone with quads like that, give me that. Don's following the live too, mate, but he's got a question here on Facebook. He says, hey, legend, stick with Sandon Smith or Waivers Strange or Trindle?
As a halfback, I've got to put Trindle first out of that pack.
Yeah. I'm with you there. I would be wavering Trindle if I could.
I would, mate. I wouldn't be dropping Sandon either. Dom, I'd be finding a way. Given he's got the hooker eligibility, mate, I actually do not hate him as a hooker with a little sneaky bit upside. And the floor of goal kicking actually makes him quite attractive as a hooker. I don't like the idea of playing him as a halfback myself.
Agreed. I'm right there with you. Last question on the Book of Face from our boy Anthony Mason. Again, he says, hey, Toddy, love the body. Can run the guy. There he is.
Yeah, boy.
He's got two questions for us, the big fella. He says, is Ewan Aiken a stash option? Does he play 80 on the edge when he's fit? Yes, he plays 80, and yes, he is definitely a stash for me.
100% stashable. The worst you get out of him is a 65-minute with a high PPM. I think he is a very good stash.
Totally agree. And the second one, he says, I keep reading in footy media, not following us, that Shibasaki has jumped Mariner and the Broncos pecking order. He played on Stag's right side against the Roosters. Is Mariner a drop candidate due to lack of job security when Stag returns?
Wait and see. It's probably not a great matchup for Mariner this week, Mason, but I think if you put – I'm going to be starting him myself in my 4 CT dub spot. I still think he's a much more talented player, and I like him. It's going to be a wait and see, mate. If you get to that spot and he's lost his spot to Shibasaki, then fine, he's droppable.
No dramas, mate. That is all the questions we have from the Book of Face.
Beautiful, mate.
Let me just head to the listener league here, mate. Week
Yes,
one,
sir.
pretty crazy week. Some big scores. We just remind everybody it is a sort of a meat and potatoes kind of league. We're just going classic draft style, no flex, no captains, nothing like that. So we'll run through this. Yeah, 12 team. It was an interesting draft day. A couple of things happened on the old site, but we won't go into that. Anyway, the first matchup saw myself absolutely flog the living daylights out of BDE Simon. Cop that.
That's why he's not here. No, he told me. He actually said I just couldn't better face the Todd this weekend.
Get that up, your buff.
Yep.
That's what happens. And to that listener that was getting up me about my draft team, get that up, yeah. The second one we saw Sid for Carrigan, 669 on the score. Puff Daddies were in some trouble, only putting up 565, which is a rough old time there.
Rough start.
Holmes and Watson put up a solid 757 against Shred, who again a bit of a rough one with the 695. Braden's Willie Armies put up the big score, their biggest of the week, 837 versus Kevin's Baconators. Got sizzled the big dog, 746 from him, so decent win there by Braden's Willie Armies. Baxter's Boys put up a solid 748 against White and Wong, 669, and then yourself, mate.
I might have just lost you here, Todd. I think it might just be me chatting to myself. All right. Didn't want to announce my win. The poor Todd.
There we go. I'm back. You got me?
He's back. I got you, mate. Yeah, so you're announcing my victory.
Where did I get up to? Yes. Yes, you got a 60-point win over the Middle East. So
yes.
Top of the leaderboard this for week one. We got Braden William Army, followed by me and you, mate. Top three. So, yeah. Bloody
exciting times. Great to run the listener league. So thanks to those who joined in. Always looking, those who are the most active during the year who've not yet been in one of our leagues will likely get a run. And there might be an idea of a veterans listener league for those who've been with us since the start. Might be something we look at next season.
Oh, promotion relegation. What about that?
I think there's a chance, mate. There'll be, and so, early doors here. Loving your work, Dom and Captain Rivalry coming in hot in the chat this week. So thank you very much for that. So listeners, just because the waivers were, there's many options this week, and we know those who've been around and played fantasy, like I've been playing for a good odd 20 years now. I have also been a big fan of the NFL fantasy and BBL and all that. We know that early season in draft leagues, you can find some gold here that's just going to hold up for the rest of the season. So I'm someone who does spend my waiver pretty early and often. A lot of people like to hang on to it.
Mm-hmm.
Sure, do that if you like, but there'll be gold here somewhere. So just some big ones this week, I think. Trindle, if he's out there. Humphreys.
Yep.
Toya. They're probably the big three odds that just need to be picked up, right?
Yeah, I'll throw Tommy Starling in there just in case as well. I think he's one that could be pretty important sort of the first half of the season.
Yep. I think that we said Paseka has shown enough in that season, as well as Tui Pilotu, that need to be owned. You're going to enjoy owning Saab and Lehigh. You probably sit them in weeks where they're up against some of the really big sides. Pardon me, those other four good teams, for example. Ethan Strange, worth a stab. I know we're a little late but interest. We also said Daniel Saifidi for some low-end FRF sort of probably season-long play. And the other one is Tamale, who should really be owned along potentially with Hopper, you said, Todza. So
yeah, spicy umami hot tamale.
There are a lot of options there this week, listeners. I have loved bringing this potty to you. Love a Tuesday night with a bit of put the back end of a bit of cabin fever for us in southeast Queensland stuck here at home. So it's been an absolute pleasure bringing it to you. The Todd Mountain, what a star. Thank you, sir.
Cheers, mate. Cheers, listeners.
Good on you. All right, listeners, thank you very much for tuning in. As always, get that BD India. Oh, yeah.